Being pregnant sucks. I was told I would glow. I do not feel glowy. It's not the rosy life that much of social media depicts, and we're going to talk about why. But first, I have to still say that it's ultimately worth it, and I feel lucky that my body can support creating another human being. I know many women who have paid over $20,000 for a single round of IVF fertility treatment, and there's not even a guarantee that that will work. So yeah, I feel lucky and yucky. These side effects are just gross, and I want to talk about that, and especially talk about how they affect your voice, because this is the charismatic voice after all. And then at the end, I'm going to make some suggestions for how you can make a pregnant lady's life a little bit better. I'm Elizabeth Jaroff, the creator of the Charismatic Voice, and about to be mom of 2. This is my second pregnancy, and I am just over 36 weeks. And I've come to realize that glow that so many people talk about is actually just extra sebum production, which my face really didn't need. I think there's a lot of pressure to portray pregnancy as some sort of beautiful experience, especially on social media today. We see all of these pictures of pregnant ladies seeming to fuse some sort of otherworldly light, like they're a piece of divinity for 9 months. And even though I don't think that these gorgeous pictures are an accurate representation of reality, I have to admit that I still kind of like them. I mean, we are creating life, but I have to tell you that my 2 maternity photo shoots so far have been less of a celebration of how great I feel than me trying to persuade myself for maybe one single moment I can be sexy instead of just feeling like a beached whale. But the most enjoyable moments of those maternity photo shoots by far were when I embraced the belly and did a fun or silly cosplay like Smee or Fat Thor. Bottom line is, while there are a few women who may say they love being pregnant, I don't get it, and most women just don't. So let's talk about some of that yucky. I'm going to give you 4 points that I particularly disdain, and then we're going to dive into how pregnancy affects the voice. My first great pain point, and the pain point of many, many pregnant women, is fatigue. I always feel tired. For the average person, 7 or 8 hours of sleep is enough, but for me, while I'm pregnant, 11 hours is my sweet spot. And even then, extra moments of extreme fatigue can creep up. This fatigue isn't something that pregnant people can just power through. Sure, maybe a couple of days can be strung along with adrenaline, but if you continue for too long in that way, your body starts to show signs that it's just not okay. You start to shake or have blood pressure issues, a lot more nausea, or you might just have total loss of mental acuity and become useless. Pregnancy fatigue is usually the worst in first and third trimesters, although for some poor women, it actually lasts the whole time. I've been lucky just to have it at the beginning and the end. But can you imagine needing 3 or 4 hours of additional sleep every day, and how much that would cut into work and family and personal time? It's a lot. But the fatigue for me is not as bad as my second pain point, which is brain fog. I feel stupid, at least some of the time. Seriously, some days it feels like my IQ just drops 20, 30, 40 points. I can't even speak right. Recent studies have been examining how the brain shifts during pregnancy, and the findings are fascinating and also disturbing. According to multiple studies, the total gray matter of your brain decreases during pregnancy, and also cortical thickness decreases during pregnancy. Luckily, most studies show that the brain bounces back after giving birth, although the amount of time that it takes to bounce back does vary. What exactly these changes in the brain indicate is still something that maternal neuroscience is trying to explain. The major hormonal shifts during pregnancy also likely contribute to that brain fog. I think the experience of this is similar to the roller coaster of teenager hormonal changes. Every now and then there's a day when I just cry for no reason at all, but it's not enough to be able to take an antidepressant to help. No, this is just when lightning strikes occasionally, like maybe once or twice a week, and let's hope that it doesn't happen on a film day. Once again, I feel lucky here, because if that lightning hormone day does strike when I'm supposed to film, I'm able to shift my schedule. A lot of women aren't that lucky, and I really feel for them. Back to the brain fog. It's like the haziness that a lot of people experience during COVID or with thyroid problems, or to a lesser degree that you might feel before you've had a cup of coffee in the morning. Words just come slower, and sometimes I know that there should be a connection between a sound and an event, but my brain isn't able to find that pathway. I also tend to talk a little bit slower, and this can be really frustrating in interactions because people are more likely to interrupt me. I feel so much responsibility to create videos that don't waste your time. And most of my videos are one shot, first take. I have to be on point. So if there's a day where I'm just not feeling sharp, I feel like I can't do my job. I feel like I can't record. I don't want to release something that wastes my audience's time. I have a lot of different ways I've employed to combat that brain fog. We can talk about those in comments. But some common things like have some more caffeine just aren't available because you're not supposed to have that much caffeine when you're pregnant. In fact, there are a lot of things that you can't take while pregnant, which brings me to our next pain point. Aches and pains with no relief. I hurt, but I can't take drugs to make me feel better. Pregnancy is accompanied by so many pains. Back pains, headaches, nausea. There are so many aches. Pregnancy is learning to constantly live with discomfort. Nausea affects 70 to 80% of all pregnant women. 50 to 70% of pregnant women experience back pain, and around 15 to 20% of pregnant women experience migraines. These are just a few of the common aches and pains. You can find these huge lists online that are painfully laughable to read through and read about how many things can actually hurt during pregnancy. But Elizabeth, you say, there are all kinds of medicines to help manage these kinds of pain. The problem is, when you're pregnant, you have to question every single medicine because many of these medicines can be harmful to the baby. For example, ibuprofen/Advil or naproxen/Aleve are off the menu. Even Tylenol, which has been thought for years to be safe, has recently been questioned as having a possible connection to ADHD in children. So many of the over-the-counter medications that most people use to treat a common cold or a headache are not available to pregnant women. And rather than getting something heavier prescribed that may have questionable side effects, many women will choose to just suffer through. One of the common pains that I've struggled with the most is pregnancy rhinitis, which essentially means that I'm always congested. It's like allergy season for 9 months. Of course, this sucks for the voice. Constant nasal drip does no vocal favors, and my favorite decongestant, which is pseudoephedrine, is linked to birth defects, so not on the menu. There are some new allergy medications that may be okay, but emphasis on the may because testing these on pregnant women is just not morally okay. So while we think that they might not cross this barrier to actually get to the baby, we're not 100% positive. And who wants to test that on their own baby? Even catching the common cold can be difficult for pregnant women because NyQuil is off the table. Add to that, their immune system just isn't functioning the same way. There are fluctuations in it. It's actually lessened to protect the fetus so that the body doesn't attack its own fetus. I know, crazy. But there are times when we think that immune system may be higher or lower, but the general trends are that a common cold or the flu just hits a pregnant woman harder. Another huge pain that a lot of pregnant women experience is acid reflux. We're going to talk about that more when we talk about voice. For now, let's talk about weight gain. I feel fat. Aside from the fact that rapid weight gain is difficult on the body, it's also demoralizing when you see your face getting wider and wider on each progressive YouTube thumbnail. I have another video that I'm working on about body image, especially body image while pregnant. Hopefully I'll get that done and released before the baby pops out. But for now, let's just talk about what else the weight gain is doing. The expanding uterus pushes into all of the organs and body parts around. This puts a ton of pressure on the back, hence back pain, makes it difficult to breathe. Again, we're going to talk about that in the voice section. It puts a lot of pressure on things down lower. That gets really, really yucky, so we're not going to go into details on what happens there. Your posture also changes. The shoulders tend to hunch more, and the pelvis does this like crazy, weird tilt thing. It actually changes position, getting prepared to deliver a baby. Little things like squatting down to pick up the pencil you just dropped suddenly become a lot more difficult because you're squatting an extra 30 pounds, which you may or may not have built up to. Of course, stairs and hills are way more difficult, and the balance of the body has totally shifted, so you have to be very careful to not trip or fall. Some of the weight gain is just due to blood increase. A pregnant lady's plasma volume increases by around 50% during pregnancy. Other than weight gain, this has so many side effects like nosebleeds, but we won't get into all of that. There's also a lot of fluid retention and swelling. This does affect the voice. We're going to talk about that again in a moment. But one of the main things that I see that bugs me is my face, again, getting wider and wider, or it affects hands and feet too. I have to be really careful about my rings. By third trimester, I stopped wearing my wedding ring, and I wear this ring for my mother-in-law, sometimes on my middle finger, sometimes on my ring finger, depending on how swollen I am on a given day. And I know it may seem obvious, but with the expanding body, you need to get new clothes to fit. And I don't think enough people realize how much financial pressure is put on pregnant women. Maternity clothes are specialized. Yes, you can get some secondhand, but it's really hard to find something that fits you the right way. Bellies are just different. Pregnant bodies grow in different ways. They tend to be more expensive to pay for. And then, of course, the pregnant woman is also thinking about paying for all kinds of baby clothes, baby items. There's a lot of financial pressure on that pregnant lady. And keep in mind, she can't just work overtime with all of that fatigue setting in. There are so many other weird and kind of crazy details about how pregnancy affects the body. But let's get to the area that I find the most fascinating: how pregnancy affects your voice. For the most part, singing sucks. My voice just does not work properly when I'm pregnant. Again, some women don't seem to notice too much of a difference until usually third trimester. But for most women, if you're puking in first trimester, think about all of that acid. And then you have this growing thing that makes it really difficult to breathe in third trimester. Those things alone make singing difficult, and there are more. Acid reflux is a common pain that many pregnant women experience. And this is due to a hormone, relaxin, relaxing the sphincter at the bottom of the esophagus. So it's not closing off quite well, and a lot of acid is able to come back up. That's very bad for your voice. Add to that the uterus growing, pushing the stomach further up. There's less room for the stomach, so that acid is hanging out on the top. And a lot of women end up experiencing this burning in their throat, or they might even wake up tasting acid in the back of their mouth. Acid reflux is the devil for singers. It causes so much inflammation. It's really difficult to sing on. And again, you're limited in what medications you can take because you're pregnant. I've survived this pregnancy by taking a lot of Gaviscon, which is an alginate. It forms a barrier at the top of the stomach, and I highly, highly recommend alginates to other pregnant women out there. Hashtag not sponsored. I already talked about pregnancy rhinitis, which is like allergies while singing. In the past, I had allergies contribute to vocal nodules. So this isn't something to take lightly. It's actually very, very serious. Pregnant women also tend to have reduced lung capacity. This is because of the uterus expanding again. There's nowhere for the diaphragm to descend down to. So holding out a note for a long time is gonna be really, really tough. Belting a high, powerful note, much more difficult, especially in third trimester. But bonus, a lot of singers report that after giving birth, they find that they have a much better and deeper connection to their pelvic floor. The other thing that's actually a little bit dangerous for vocalists while pregnant is the swelling, the fluid retention. It can go up and down, so hard to find consistency day to day. But it also makes the blood vessels dilated, and this makes it more likely for a vocalist to hemorrhage. So it's a particularly bad idea to do a super heavy tour while pregnant. Additionally, hormone changes don't just affect the brain, they also affect your voice, but how exactly needs a lot more research. And this is where I shout out to all of those incredible female rock and metal artists that have toured while pregnant. Y'all are goddesses. I'm so impressed with you. All this said, I've actually had 2 pretty decent pregnancies. They haven't been the easiest, they haven't been the worst, but at least I haven't felt like I had the flu for 9 months straight. When you see a pregnant lady, you don't know how she might be feeling that day. She might feel like she's glowing, she might not. And I want to offer a few suggestions on what you can do to maybe help her out and possibly avoid a verbal beheading. First, offer help, but don't insist on it. There is this really weird balance of wanting to do things as long as possible for myself and actually really dreading putting on socks or picking up an Amazon box or walking to the other side of my house to get a water bottle. Some days I want to do it still myself, and some days I actually just really would love help. At some point, a pregnant lady wants all of the assistance she can get, but once she gives up something, or once she stops moving, that feels like one more thing lost until baby arrives. So I suggest offering help, but not insisting on it. Also, give her what she's craving. If an egg burrito makes it easier for her to overcome each day, make her an egg burrito or order it. It doesn't matter that eggs are freaking expensive right now. Eggs are good for the baby's brain. They also give her more energy throughout the day. Just give her the egg burrito. The point is, as long as it isn't terrible for the baby, please indulge the pregnant lady in whatever she's craving. And on the flip side, do not eat something she has an aversion to in her presence. During my first pregnancy, I had an aversion to basil. You couldn't even say the word basil around me because I would feel nauseous. We actually just called it B for short to help lessen that effect. If you ate basil around me, I would want to hurl. This pregnancy, the bad B word is bacon, but luckily that lasted just during my first trimester. I can be around it now, still can't eat it though. If a pregnant lady says she has an aversion to a particular food, just do her a favor and don't have it nearby. You don't know if she'll be able to contain that puke or if it might just come out on you. Also, please give pregnant ladies some emotional patience and mental space. The hormones are intense, y'all. I'm sorry that sometimes us pregnant ladies feel like we're all chipper and then suddenly a switch is flipped and you get ripped a new one. Believe me, we feel bad about it too. And if the pregnant lady is struggling to find a word or is speaking a little bit slowly, please work on your active listening skills, seek to understand, and avoid the urge to try to get things done really quickly. If you want to toss money at a pregnant lady, I suggest either putting that into a baby registry or buying her comfy clothes. There are very few things that actually make me feel good right now, but one of those things is fuzzy socks. Again, hashtag not sponsored, even though we've done a lot of sponsored content by Bombas, and I love Bombas socks, highly recommend them for pregnant ladies. This video is not sponsored, but fuzzy socks are really nice. I also particularly love my maternity comfy clothing pieces from Seraphine and Kindred Bravely. Yes, again, maternity clothing can be expensive, but just a couple of good pieces goes a long way. I'll link to those below. Again, not sponsored, just hoping to help a few other pregnant women out there. And my final piece of advice to everyone around pregnant women is to encourage naps. I can't tell you how much pregnant ladies bond over where they've taken naps, how long they've been, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, if you are pregnant, please fill the comments below with where and how long you have taken a nap. If supporting a pregnant woman in taking a nap means that you need to take on a little additional work, just do it. You don't want her working through that absolute brain fog haze. She might make a mistake in there. You need to double check it. And also, she's just gonna do a better job once she slept. I am super lucky to be working with my husband on this YouTube channel together, and each time I've been pregnant, he has taken on a bunch of additional tasks. If it's a film day and I'm struggling to keep my eyes open, he'll ask what he can do to help me get that nap in, or if maybe we can flip where the film day is so that I'll be more sharp on another day. Being pregnant sucks, but I'm lucky because I feel really, really supported. I hope this video has been useful for you to see inside of pregnancy, not just pregnancy for the voice, but also see inside what pregnancy is like for a YouTuber. And maybe it'll encourage you to support some more pregnant women through their journey in your lives. I hope this video helped you glimpse inside of how crazy pregnancy can be for the body, the mind, and the voice. And when in doubt, one of the things you can do to help support pregnant women is to create them an awesome playlist. Thank you for all of your suggestions for Pregnant Lady Reacts recently. May you fall more in love with music every day.